Okay, here we are in our content editor, and this time we're going to cover some of the advanced options for IFX. Again, I'm going to press both of my side triggers and summon the control panel. And let's jump back to the very start of the scene. I'm going to move my slider. And I'm going to select one of my objects. So here we go. Here's my chicken. Now you can select by tapping them here in the menu or in the work area, or you can actually point at them as well. So I can point at the chicken and then select it. And you can see his bubble is highlighted pink and the chicken is yellow here. Let's see, I accidentally deselected. There we go. So its chicken is selected there. Now I can click on the goat and you can see that the goat is selected there. So let's go back and select the chicken and let's have a look at its control menu. So we tried move and gizmo. This time we're going to try cloning the object. And just as you'd expect, you can see we've got a perfect duplicate of the chicken there. Let's pick him up with the move tool and move him down beside his clone brother there. And again, as I said, usually most of our options have several ways to be used, but you can see the clone button here does exactly the same thing. So we've now got 3 chickens. Move. So there we go. That's 1 chicken. I'm going to move this guy. I'm going to select him. Got another chicken. So there we go. 3 chickens. Now, that's wonderful that we can instantly clone objects so quickly, but unfortunately it leaves me with a problem. I can't tell them apart. In fact, they're all just called chicken. So really, I want some way of differentiating them. To do that, let's have a look at some of the advanced options for our IFX. Each IFX has its own advanced options panel, and you can access it here by selecting the object or by pressing the IFX options button. You can also access it by pressing the little cog icon that's on the end of the IFX. So let's have a look. We'll go through some of the options we have for this object. Because it's an animated object, we have animation overrides. We'll be going over that in a later lesson. Then starting up here, the effect name is chicken, WL chicken. And then the custom name is still chicken because we haven't edited it. Let's edit the name of the custom name and give him a proper name. So let's call him Huey. And to save the changes, we click Save Effect. And we can see Huey. And this time I'm going to use the button at the side here. And I'm going to give this guy a custom name as well. So he's got a nice custom name, and I will save the effect. And then finally, I'll hit the cog this time. Bring the cog. And then I'm going to give it a custom name too. Oh, let's see, who's the last one? Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Here we go, save. So now I can tell my chickens apart, which is very useful. Our 3 chickens. Excellent. So that was an example of some of the more detailed controls you can have. Now, depending on the kind of IFX that you're using, you'll have different options. But let's jump back in to the IFX options panel and see what else we have here. So we have the start and end time for the object. Now these values are exactly the same. Let's just save that. They're exactly the same as the values you can see here. You can see they all go up to exactly 30 seconds. The nice thing about this is, occasionally you'll need extremely fine control. And here we have a numeric input. So let's see. This object finishes at 30 seconds. So let's extend it a little bit. And I'm going to do that by clicking on the seconds area, or the seconds field, and I'm going to extend it to 45 seconds. And then I'm going to save my changes. And you can see Dewey has extended further in the timeline. Now, let's have a little look at the options we have here. So we have hours, minutes, and seconds. And then in a different color, we have frames. The frame system in the content editor is based on 30 frames per second. Of course, the hardware will render much more frames than that when you're actually playing at a much higher frame rate. But for the purposes of keyframe animation, we've rounded it down to 30 frames a second. And this gives you very fine control. And in fact, if we wanted to, we can go in here and we can adjust the time by clicking on the end time there. And we can even select the frames field. So we can say 45 seconds and 8 frames. So I hope you'll agree there that that's a very nice fine control. Now looking at the next option here is for fade in and fade out. If you press the fade in and fade out, you'll see different options. You can make the object grow, or you can make the material of the object become transparent by the fade, and then you can have different options. I'm not going to bother using them here because it's not really an effect we're looking for. And the same for fade out as well. And what that means is if you had a fade in or a fade out turned on, I'll just save the effect, the fade in would happen at the very start and the fade out at the very end of the object's container. And then we'll have a look here. The world position, you can change the relative position of an object. That's somewhat of an advanced feature and not something we need right now. And finally, there's animation overrides. The animation overrides require a little more setup when you're creating your IFX, but they can be very helpful. So let's have a look here. We'll use an animation override. By turning it on, by pressing the button, you turn it on. And then from a menu, you can select the animations. So let's see. The chicken eat, chicken run, chicken angry. You can cycle through all the different kinds of animations. And you can decide when animations will start and finish. So there you go. That's a rundown of some of the advanced options that we have inside the object controller.